Hello, everyone, and welcome. Yeah, so I was in the middle of A, feeding Bodhi, B, FaceTiming my mom, and C, I was making sweet potato muffins and then sweet potato fries. And so I left the kitchen and Bodhi in a complete disaster. He was eating raspberries today and he just got his like little blue jumper completely covered in red. He didn't like the raspberries too much, but I get it. They can be tart. Um, anyway, so yeah, I'm kind of hoping that my sweet potato fries are not going to be burnt. Just like put good vibes out to the universe on that one. Um, and I was so close to just hopping onto this Q&A on my phone because I've already picked the questions from the forum and then having like a cooking with EA Q&A. So if you're interested in something like that, getting out of the office realm space, then yeah, I'd be like so open to just switching it up and like, maybe even well, no, I was gonna say outside somewhere because it's getting nicer here, but the Wi-Fi is not great outside. So yeah, that would be really fun. And we would just have like a baby in the background. And just a side note, little personal update. Bodhi, oh my goodness, he's 11 months. He's about to be a year old in April. And he is like just rapidly making the switch from baby to toddler. He is trying to climb drawers, like I was totally able to sit him in front of the mirror for at least like 2 or 3 months and then get dressed in the morning and like do my thing, do my routine. And now it's like he's opening a drawer. I'm afraid that he's going to close the drawer on his fingers or fall on the corner of the drawer. So it's like I'm like trying to pick my clothes, trying to like get him away from things, and then also like he's all of a sudden just being much more vocal. Like he's such a chill baby, but now it's like these little temper tantrums of him like either not liking a certain kind of food or not getting his way. I mean, you should have seen him the other morning. I had a coffee that I was enjoying and I wouldn't give it to him and the blow up we had. So yeah, so we're getting to the fun part of parenting. And yeah, my mom was just giving me some very sage advice, like 20 minutes ago, talking about how this is where you really start have to parenting. Like you really start have to, like kind of laying down the law and it's a balance between how much do you give in and how much like I was just feeding him lunch and I was giving him like a nice stew that had, cooked carrots and some I don't know what kind of meat it was and so I think it was like beef and then some potatoes. It was so yummy. Would not have any of it. Gave him some chopped up berries. Would not have any of that. Of course, what did he want? Plain bread. So I put some peanut butter on it for him. But yeah, it's just so it's like how much do you give in and how much do you like kind of say no, like this is the food and like this is what you're getting. I don't know. So it'll be really interesting. You know what? I'm gonna put it on my to-do list. I have a toddler Montessori book. I think I mentioned that last time that I really want to pick up and read because I just don't. I mean, this is when you really have to start like figuring out your parenting style, and we haven't really figured that out yet. So, um, yeah. So, but he's so freaking cute. Like he's actually starting to get a little butt chin, which we don't really know where that's coming from, but it is adorable. So yeah, it's good. It's good. Those are my updates. Um, I think that's pretty much it. How are you guys doing? We are in March. January, February was really tough on me. And I think just throughout the rest of 2024, we're going to see a lot of individual ego deaths and I think a lot of collective stuff as well. But Yeah, how are you guys feeling? Stephanie, my 10-month-old just throws all his food on the floor. Luckily, Bodhi's not that bad, but I gave him some apple like little bits and they're everywhere. Like they're stuck to the cupboards right now. So I'll let that figure that out. Yeah, and someone's mentioning here in the comments, and FYI, it is a Q&A, so please put your questions down at the bottom. Oh, is my audio not great? Let me just double check my, oh, iMac. Thank you for mentioning that. Hello, is that better? That's my mic. Oh, that's my speaker. Oh, yeah, it says it's connected. Select a speaker, iMac, it's fine. Microphone is connected. Hopefully that's better. Maybe I'll just put it closer to my face. Um, yeah, someone's saying here, Kate the clone said she got cancer, right? So there, it's so fast. I did not tap into that. I literally just heard about this, like probably 5 minutes before hopping on, and immediately my first thought was like, what was it? I actually texted my friend back saying, "Oh, clone malfunction, right? It's got to be a clone malfunction because it's fascinating." But I love and yeah, I'm gonna write this down. I'm sorry. I have so many notes. I have to because my mind's everywhere. Um, follow up Kate video about cancer. And cancer is a very touchy subject, of course, but I'm just really curious, like what's going on? Is it because is it because there's a clone malfunction? Is it because that they kind of want to like kill her off for real? Is it because there's been so much conspiracy that they're like almost being forced to come out with something? Um, or that there's the other thing that it could be, but I want to tap in obviously, but maybe today. I don't know. Yeah, maybe today. I don't know. Just curious. But the other thing is because there are so many eyes on her right now, it's almost like too risky to have the clone like out in the world, which is just fascinating. Yeah, my ex super Christian neighbor, she's like, yeah, so my mom was really curious about Kate. So I showed her your Kate video. I'm like, this probably wasn't like the best like introduction to my content. It's just like, hi, Kate's a clone. And it's like, feels a little much for a Christian, but who knows? Let's see, we've got Amanda. I've been feeling weird since we got back from vacation on Monday. Can't sleep through the night, waking up about around 3 a.m. nightly. It could be an upgrade, definitely. Um, definitely a cover up, says Megan. Okay, Kelly's saying I think they didn't want to announce at the same time as Charles's diagnosis. I mean, if that was the case, then yeah, I get that. Okay, as a great grandmother, advice on feeding toddlers is let them eat what they want. With exceptions, he will go through a spell of not eating anything, which is better. Yeah, I feel that. Okay, tired all the time. Oh, someone's saying Mary's saying Kate Middleton spoke out about her cancer and it definitely didn't seem like her at all. Interesting. Okay. Other people are feeling tired. All right. Please step into Kate. All right, perfect. How about we just go ahead and do that? Let's just start with Kate. Um, you guys can hear first, and then I can make like I roll a TikTok video about it. Am I recording? I am. Perfect. All right. Okay, 1 second, guys. Oh, interesting. Yep. Yep. Mhm. Huh, very fascinating. Okay, so I'm taking a look at the situation and I'm going back to December again, right? So it's kind of hard to describe like how I do it. So it's very similar to like a GFL meeting. I'll have an intention in mind, like what's the update on Kate, or like what's the plan, or what's going on, or like what's happening, right? And so I'll pose a question. I don't talk to spirit guides when I look into this stuff. I just remote view the situation. And then I kind of just go where I need to go to gain access to the information. And then usually I'll see clips of the like situation, and then I'll pull it together. And if I don't always see the clips that I need to have the full information, then I'll look in other places. That's kind of how I do it. I don't usually describe the process, but I wanted to. So funny enough, I went right back to December again. Okay. And with remote viewing, anyway, for me, and even remote viewing Akashic records, I find that I will always go back to the most traumatic moment of a past lifetime. So for whatever, well, I mean, we know the reason why I keep going back to December. So I'm like looking at an update, and I once again go back to December. And in December, this is when things really like shit hit the fan for Kate in the royal family. And this is when she made a huge deal about whatever it was. It could have been William cheating or whatever. And so basically she's like, I'm done and I'm taking the kids. And at that point in time is when the royal family were like, okay, what do we do with Kate? Right? Like this is when they started to kind of plot against her. And so here's the update. So I went back to December. I'm confused as to why I'm going back to December because we're trying to look at the update currently. Here is something so fascinating. The members of the royal family, some are very public members and some are very, very behind the scene members, members that you'll never see in public. But the members that I saw in particular, there was about 5 of them in a room, and this is where they were basically discussing what do we do about Kate. There's no coming back from this. Like where she's at right now, like there's no like, and she's got a full schedule of engagements. So they were talking, and so I also just want to mention side note, I saw them as human, but I believe that these select individuals are a part of that royal reptilian elite, right? Like they're like they're a part of that very small group of decision makers and kind of like controllers. So I went back to that moment, I went back to that room, I went back to that discussion, and one of the things that one of these people brought up was, well, let's kill her off. And what if it was just some sort of tragic car accident? Someone else in the group brought up, we don't want another Diana situation. Wow. So then they were discussing how else they can do this. And this is when they basically said we've got to get the clones out if we do. Um, And I don't know if I mentioned it in the video that I released. So I did a big long video and then I did a shorter video, and I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but what I saw when they basically killed her was they did it at nighttime. They did it when she was sleeping. And it wasn't in some sort of sacrificial ritual, which is what I typically see with deaths like this, which lends even more credence to the fact that this was a last minute thing. Like they were not planning this. If it's a sacrifice, it'll be on an eclipse, on a full moon, on a new moon. But no, this was very much so last minute. Like we got to get rid of her, and then it was kind of the training of the clone. So fast forward, which is just wild that they were thinking about a freaking car accident. So part of the reason why okay, sorry, I'm just like flip-flopping between like present and then past. So in December, one of the things that they mentioned was cancer, was which is fascinating. And I haven't looked into Charles's diagnosis. I have an intuitive ping that that's actually happening and that this Kate thing is not, but I haven't looked into Charles. But anyway, what came through with Kate is back in December when they killed her off, that clone was always really meant to be just a placeholder. And now that there's so much discussion and so much suspicion, and we're not just talking about like the conspiracy circles, like we're talking about mainstream is super suspicious about what's happening with Kate. And because of that, um, they they're like, okay, we've got to move forward on this cancer plan. And specifically, they're mentioning that cancer was going to be the plan or the focus to gain sympathy. That's the word, sympathy. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not totally clear on what their plan is. I don't know if this is supposed to be like a cancer plot to like take her out officially, or if it's a cancer plot to change the focus of the conversation to gain access to sympathy for the royal family. Oh, look at two members of the royal family are going through this. Like, what person in their heart of hearts is not going to have sympathy and compassion for anyone going through cancer, right? It's really the ultimate heartstring pull. Um, so I'm not sure if it's either just to change the conversation and to change the focus and to also probably train this clone a little bit further, or if it's actually meant to just take her out of the equation altogether. I don't know. I'm gonna check into Charles because now I'm just curious, like, is that also a plan? Because to me, I think like they have access to, adrenochrome and other technologies that kind of help them live a long life. So can reptilians even get cancer? Like, is that, I don't know. I'm just gonna look at and then we'll get to your questions. One second. Hmm. Interesting, interesting. Hmm. Yeah. Ah, fascinating. Okay. There was another piece that came through here. They're discussing right now, okay, maybe not like right in this moment, but like currently, this group of individuals is discussing, do we keep Kate in the equation for when William becomes king? And they're talking about the dynamic of a king and a queen versus just a king. And like a king, without a queen has no sort of, it's not opposition because it's just a clone, but has no like nothing to kind of get in the way of that. Um, I don't know. So they are on the fence of like, do we keep or do we not for that position of queen? And then with Charles, absolutely that was staged. It's funny, my intuition was telling me differently, but no, this is totally staged, and he was never supposed to be in that role for long. They're like literally taking him out, and then they're kind of opening things up for for William. Anyway, I don't really know too much about like the royal family, but it's fascinating to look into. Okay, well, we'll move on and see how things play out. But man, the monarchy is crumbling. All right, let's go to the live questions, and then I've got a couple of questions I've already pulled from the forum. Okay. Okay. So let's start with Neva. Can you elaborate on what we can expect for the solar eclipse on April 8th? Thanks so much. Also, will there be 3 days of darkness? So way back in 2011, when I first had that initial meeting with the Galactic Federation, one of the things that they said in that meeting, they talked about the ascension. They introduced me to the lizard people, and I called them the dinosaur people for a while. And what and so back then they told me, but there was a huge group of us, and they said that there was going to be 3 days and 3 nights of darkness. And they also mentioned like 144,000. So what do I do back in 2011? I Google 3 days of darkness and 144,000. And all I got was like biblical references. And I'm like, what? What are a group of extraterrestrials doing quoting the Bible? Like, how does this make any sense? And of course, we know that, parts of the Bible are super aligned to the truth, and parts are just totally made up. Um, Anyway, so yeah, I don't really know what's going on with the eclipse. I will say that I'm gonna have my astrologer friend come on to my YouTube, and this is gonna be next. It's 1, 2, 3 right now, which is awesome. So it's gonna be next Friday, which is the 29th. So we're gonna get into the eclipses and what to expect. I have not been warned about anything. However, I am a prepper and I do have food and water, and I have off-grid um like lighting and electricity and cooking my food off grid. I mean, that's just me, you guys know I've told you to kind of get prepared for a while. So let me just tune in really quick and ask about the 3 days of darkness, because actually it's so funny. In 2011, when I first had that meeting, that was like day one of me being a prepper, because they literally said that like there's going to be a period of like a blackout basically. And so I'm like, okay. So I've had like a box of food in my closet for over a decade. Now it's actually like long-term storage food, right? Like my favorite website, I'll just put it out there. It's called My Patriot Supply. I probably should be an affiliate for them because I really love them so much. I'm just gonna tell Nat to grab the sweet potato fries. Um, and turn off the oven. I don't think she knows how to turn off the oven. Okay. So anyway, yeah, mypatriotsupply.com is like my go-to, and they have like a month supply of like food, and it lasts 30 years. It's like 30 years freeze dried, whatever. You can't go wrong, right? Canned food and stuff, it expires. So, but yeah, let me just tune into the 3 days and 3 nights of darkness. And I've tuned in before, and it seems like it could potentially be up to 3 months. Like there has been a range of like 3 days all the way to 3 months. Definitely not like 3 years or anything, but yeah, it definitely seems like it could be a little bit longer. But let's see where we're at. It's been so long since I've tuned into that part of the prophecy. Mm, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, okay. So I mean, immediately with this question, I went over to Kinetic. I didn't really expect to talk to the GFL. And he said the first word that he mentioned was solar maximum, solar maximum. And I believe what that means is that I think what that means is that like the sun goes through a phase, right? And like sometimes it's like tens of thousands of years of a phase. And that the solar flares are increasing, and that's like the solar maximum. And that basically Kinetic was saying that we are entering this solar maximum now. Like this is the time right now where these solar flares are increasing, and that they absolutely have the ability to wipe out our grid system. And he said that if it were to happen, because it's not totally um like it's not locked in yet, and as we've talked to the GFL before about this, it really depends on where we're at on planet Earth. The GFL have the technology to prevent something really massive from hitting. If we need that to happen, it will happen. It kind of depends on our own growth and ascension, because if a huge solar flare were to hit, there's going to be a lot of people who unfortunately are going to die. There's going to be protests and rioting. Like it's not going to be a good situation. And that amount of trauma to the planet as a whole can take much longer to recover from, which means that it actually puts off our ascension even more. So it can help, but it can also hinder. Um, so that's where the GFL have been debating this for a very long time. What do we do about this? And so Kinetic said it would be between now, 2024, and 2030. Oh no, 2035, sorry. Yeah, 2035. So it'd be 2024 to 2035 where we would get the possibility of a really massive solar flare hitting us, and then of course moving us into ascension, but also potentially creating some issues. Okay, just reading your questions. Oh, so hold on. We've got Melinda here. Can we just say a prayer for the highest and best good for Kate, no matter where she is and in what state? Yeah, so actually just I wanted to give you guys an update. So a couple nights ago, um I share my notes, my to-do notes with Nat, just in case she's like, oh, I could do that for the family, or I could do that for the household or whatever. So I wrote down in my to-do notes, like find Kate and make sure she's okay. And so Nat's like, who's Kate? And why are you making sure she's okay? And I'm like, oh, it's Kate Middleton, and I want to make sure that her soul's okay. Anyway, so I did. So it was that night. So it was probably 2 or 3 nights ago. And I tuned into Kate, and oh, that's where I channeled how she died. That's where I channeled how she died. Yeah, I didn't release that publicly. Anyway, so she's oh yeah, she hasn't crossed over yet. I told her I would come back to her in a couple days, which I should probably add her back to my to-do list. Follow up with Kate on the other side. It was really sad. I recorded what I channeled, but yeah, her soul's like stuck. And the first thing she said to me is like, I can't leave my kids. And I said, well, you can cross over and you can come back, and you'll be able to see your kids that way. And like she's like, like, are my kids going to be okay? And like I had a really hard time like telling her, reassuring her that yeah, your kids are going to be fine, because I don't think they will be. And so that was really just heartbreaking as a parent, as a parent to like, so she refuses to leave because she doesn't want to leave her kids. And I understand that, but she also doesn't understand how like that realm works either. So anyway, so it's just a little, totally forgot that I did channel her, and unfortunately I wasn't able to cross her over, but there is a white light portal open for her. Okay. So we've got someone here. What can help save our crypto wallets with the big solar flare? Well, this, okay? This is a Faraday bag. You can get them on Amazon for actually quite cheap. 10 years ago, these things were literally $300, okay? Because no one was no one was making them. And so in my Faraday bag, I have all my externals. I have like 5 externals. That's really all I care about. I just care about my content, like my books and stuff that I've written over the years. Um, so if you have like get your cryptocurrency off of the exchange, this is what Nat does. She puts it on a hard wallet. I think it's called. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, it's like, one of those things. It's not on exchange, it's on like a hard wallet. I feel like I should know that term, but I don't. Anyway, and then you have like a seed code or some sort of seed password. No one can get into that hard wallet. And then I keep her hard wallet in a Faraday bag as well in her office. So anytime she makes profits, she takes out the profit and she puts it into her hard wallet. Cold storage. Thank you so much. Anyway, so yeah, there absolutely is the ability to keep your crypto and even the crypto servers and stuff. I don't really know how that works, but I know that there will be protections for that as well. Once again, not totally sure how that works, but that's how you can protect yourself and your crypto at home. Okay. Okay, this is an interesting question. It's from Catherine. How do I move forward knowing my husband is a clone and we have children together? Do I even have a soul if I couldn't tell he was a clone to begin with? So, what I want to mention is cloning is not a very common thing. And although, like, I've mentioned it before and I've seen the cloning facility, it is a very, very expensive and arduous process to create a clone of someone. Okay. So unless your husband is a very, very high-ranking military official or politician or celebrity or royal family member, I would be um I would be very surprised basically if he was a clone. Um it's possible that he has an energetic attachment on him or some sort of reptilian attachment. That would be more likely. I mean, it happens all the time and it happens to the best of us. In that way, I just want to mention that um, you can remove entities and attachments. You can remove even reptilian attachments. Like, that's totally possible. And just know, like, if he's a good father to your children, um, just try not to have any fear around it is really what I would say. And whatever that case may be, like whatever that situation is, just try and stay really neutral and understand that you're experiencing it for a reason. And also try not to like bring your children into that either. If you think that he's a clone or maybe some sort of reptilian, if he really like shows up and he's a good dad and even just a decent husband, try not to really worry too much about it. If you don't feel aligned to being with him anymore, then for sure, like stand in your power and make those decisions. But um yeah, when it affects the family, you just want to really tread lightly. So hopefully that kind of helps you, Catherine. But yeah, I would be very surprised basically if just like an everyday person was a clone. Typically I've never met one like that or encountered one, but like I said, they're pretty rare. Yeah, just tread lightly on that. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Okay, question from Renee. My question is if angelics come from realms or are they associated with planetary bodies at all? So that's a really good question. Angelics come in like a variety of different dimensional frequencies. So I've seen angels from the seventh dimension all the way to like 12th dimension. And then we're talking about like archangels and stuff, right? In those higher dimensions. And I've never seen an angel on a planet other than like incarnated angels here as humans. I've also seen a lot of humans and met a lot of humans with angelic DNA. There's a ton of them here on planet Earth, and also angelic souls, a lot of them here on Earth. I've never been to a planet of angels. I have, and of course, like I'm not really like the person to ask about planetary stuff. Like I don't really know a lot about the different planets. I don't know a lot about the different galactic wars. There are many channelers who are like really experts in that field. I have gone to the 11th dimensional realm, and within the 11th dimensional realm, there is a, how would I put it? Like how do I put it? Like a city or like a location of angelic beings. And there was like celestial. Yes, this is okay. What it would be considered is like the celestial kingdom. I mean, it sounds so like Christian, but it does exist. And there are like buildings, like energetic buildings full of like records and information and um yeah, like different like areas that you can go to and visit and yeah, it's just fascinating. I met someone once and they were describing the same building that I went to in this celestial realm. And it just blew my mind because I never get validation for what I do until someone else channels the exact same location. So yeah, I mean, there are areas that angels like hang out in. And there are more physical angels as well. Like I've seen angelic beings up on the Galactic Federation ship that are in the seventh dimension, and they're just as physical as we are. Lighter frequency, but just as physical. So um, yeah, I don't know if there's an angelic planet. I'm assuming that they were obviously once like denser beings and then they evolved from a place or a planet. Like you don't get into those higher frequencies without evolving from somewhere. So anyway, I don't know too much, but that's what I know. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, someone's just asking, when you remote view, do you see the picture clearly? No, I don't. Like it almost seems, yeah, you know what? It would be very similar to like a dream. Okay. So it's like almost like fuzzy and very specific details are like extraordinarily difficult to see. Sometimes I have a hard time seeing a being's face until I go right up close to them. So one thing that I really, really tried for actually quite a few years, and I still can't do it, and it really not depresses me, but like I wish I could be this maybe in the future if I really trained at it. So one thing that I really wanted to practice was writing a word or having someone write a word on a piece of paper or like reading a book from a different room of the house. And I can't do it. I literally cannot do it. I just it cannot it's not as clear, right? As it should as it you feel like it should be. So it's almost like I can see rooms, I can see beings in rooms, I can even see furniture in rooms. I can see what certain people or certain beings are doing in that space. But specifically, I cannot look into those fine-tuned details, and it bothers me. So I do want to practice that a little bit more, and it does take practice. Like there's like a kind of and we all have like a natural clair ability that we gravitate to. It could be like clairsentience or clairvoyance or clairaudience. But it does take practice to really like open that up and like fine tune it. And I just haven't taken the time. So no, I don't see the picture clearly. That's a good question. Okay. Yeah, we'll get into the April 8th solar eclipse next Friday. So please mark your calendars next Friday on YouTube Live at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will be talking with my astrologer friend about the upcoming eclipses and what we can do and all that information. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go to some of the forum questions. Let's see. Okay. Is there anything that has come up around another possible pandemic during the solar eclipse? Do eclipses and the sun provide downloads and DNA upgrades, and that's why we're taught to fear looking directly into them? Is it okay to look at the eclipse without glasses? Okay, so I don't recommend looking at the eclipse without glasses. I do recommend looking at the sun without glasses, specifically during the sunrise and the sunset. What I've channeled is that there are like just even just a couple of seconds right when the sun is rising or right when the sun is setting, and that can really, it can cleanse us, it can upgrade us, it can rejuvenate our cellular being. So yeah, there definitely are DNA upgrades and healing that the sun can provide, but as everything, it's in moderation, and the sun is quite powerful. So I don't recommend looking at the eclipse without glasses or without that like little protection thing. I wonder what my astrology friend would say about that. And I haven't picked up on any information about some sort of plan or like 3 days of darkness coming up with the eclipses. There's been no sort of warning that I've received. So I don't have any information about that. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So, hi EA, talking about Kate and clones. Can clones live and breed as normal humans, having kids? And this is interesting. This is not from Catherine, this is from Jenny. Having kids with real humans. So freaking weird to actually know that you are living with a clone and interacting with them. Okay, so yeah, so I don't really know much about like how clones function, but this whole Kate thing has brought up like this question back into my mind. It's like, how does that even work? And like like it's almost like in my sci-fi mind, it feels like the clone is done with the day and like they go back to their box. I don't really know how they function. I've in depth looked into how reptilian hybrids function and all of that. But I have not in depth looked into how clones function. But I will mention, because Jenny, you're asking, can clones live and breed as normal humans, and have kids with real humans? No, it's not, it just doesn't happen. Um, yeah, because like I said, the whole cloning thing, like it's a human process. Cloning is a human process. It does not happen overnight and it doesn't happen by accident. There aren't like clones out in the world breeding and creating new clones. Like it just doesn't work that way. It's a very expensive, planned out process that the elites have technology for. That being said, I don't know. I'm just gonna tap in because I'm personally very curious about like their day to day. Like, how does that work? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, 1 second. Mhm. Mhm. Okay, right. Interesting. Hmm. Interesting. Okay, I mean, it's not as exciting as maybe like, science fiction describes cloning. I don't even know how sci-fi describes cloning, but um, so I'm just picking up on more of the process. So I'm just gonna describe what I saw. So I went right back to the cloning facility, and essentially what I saw is that the body, the clone body, all right, is in this cryogenic chamber, and it ages as the person ages, which is fascinating. And the body is empty. It's empty. It's just a body. It's just a biological, it's almost like a biological robot. And then they transplant a consciousness into the body. So I'm like, what? They have that technology, but they do. And I tried to understand the technology a little bit further. And what it looked like was one of these clones sitting in and it was like, I mean, like dead, not dead, but like, anyway, like it wasn't moving, right? So it's like they had to like transfer like from the cryo chamber, I guess de-thaw it, put it into this chair, and then they hooked this thing up to the head, it looks like. And it's a machine that transplants the consciousness into the body. And then I was kind of curious, like, how does it even do that? Like, how does this technology function? And it's fascinating. And it is a consciousness that's transported, but it's not the consciousness of the original soul. Why? Because the consciousness of Kate or Michael Jackson would be absolutely pissed. Like, they want to get rid of that soul. Like, that's the whole point, right? Interesting. Oh my goodness. Okay, so they transplant a consciousness into it. It's a chosen consciousness. And the way that it was kind of the way that I saw it was like the consciousness has like a frequency to it, and that frequency can be picked up on and then put into something. It's that's like the worst description ever, but whatever. And then the body comes alive. And then I'm like, okay, and then that body and then the consciousness get programmed, right? Like, hey, this is who you are, these are your likes, these are your dislikes, these are the names of your kids. Like, it gets programmed. Like, there's like kind of like an MK Ultra type thing, but slightly different. And so then I said, okay, then the clone is released out into the world or whatever. And so then I said, are there any issues? Like, it just seems like they eat normally, they shower normally, like they do all the things that are normal for like a biological human. Um, and sometimes the genetic Okay, so sometimes they have problems with the actual like biology of the clone. Like, not everything is imprinted exactly. And then sometimes they also have a problem with the integration of the consciousness and the body. And that's where you'll get freezes or weird glitches or weird stammering, stuttering, or even fainting in the clones. Is it's not necessarily always the biological function, it's actually the consciousness function of it. It's like it's the software versus the hardware, and sometimes the software can't keep up with the hardware. So for the most part, these clones are pretty integrated. Like, they're pretty normal. Like, because I'm just taking a look at this like Kate Middleton clone, and yeah, it's pretty normal. They're gonna be, interesting. They're gonna be like shaving her head and stuff. Um, Yeah, okay. I'm not even gonna get into that because it's just like a whole rabbit hole. All right, I'm gonna leave it. So, so remember, someone just mentioned like there is no soul in a clone. We're not talking about robots, you guys. We're not talking about robots. We're talking about a biological clone. It's an organism. An organism, okay, from my channeling, and time again over the years, it's been the same thing. A biological organism cannot function without some sort of consciousness. Consciousness is the driving force, it's the life force energy. A clone, a robot, sure. A humanoid robot, go for it, okay? But a clone, a biological clone, cannot function without the life force energy. That's just what I've channeled. Take it or leave it. If you've got other sources or other pings of intuition, follow those if those resonate with you. From what I've channeled, a clone absolutely has to have. I mean, I've always channeled that a biological organism from other lifetimes on other planets and things always have to have that spark. I just now channeled for the first time how they get a clone functioning, which is the implanting of a consciousness, which is it's not it's like a pre-chosen consciousness that they put in there. Um, Very fascinating. They don't create consciousness. They don't create consciousness. They pull it in. And then there's so many other questions of is that allowed? Like how do these people get around the laws of the universe by doing this? Because it feels like they're absolutely playing God. Like how are they allowed to put in a consciousness into a body? And it feels like it's a specific one because like I said, they know the software code, they know the frequency of said consciousness that they want to put in. And so they basically bring that into through the machine. I wonder if they have like, they must have some sort of like, they must have some sort of like like I'm thinking like a room full of these like little consciousness things that have all agreed to being in a body of a clone. Like there's got to be some sort of agreement, or else they would be overriding the law of free will, right? So I don't know. I don't want to get into all of it because there's a million questions that we could ask, and I'm personally very curious about it, but I also don't want to get stuck on it. Um, so interesting. Hmm. Yeah. Does Prince William know she's a clone? Yeah, from what I've channeled in the past like week, he is absolutely aware that they had to basically get rid of her. He wasn't a part of that part, but he knows that it's not her. Yeah, I'm wondering that. Lauren's just mentioning maybe because they don't have permission to play God, the clones are always weird or don't function properly for long. Like, there's definitely some glitches in their system. Um, it's like it's kind of like that body was not designed to hold that frequency, that consciousness. So it's like it doesn't fully work. As much as they can perfect the biological organism, as much as they can perfect the technology that transports the consciousness in, um, yeah, it's like there's always going to be problems because it's not the original intention. So fascinating. Do clones know that they're clones? That's a really good question. I don't know. I haven't asked. Oh my goodness, so many good questions. Okay, I'm gonna go back, see if I have another question from the forum. Okay, this is like totally off topic, but it's a good question. This is from Starseed Yogi on our forum. Is there a higher purpose slash spiritual significance when it comes to dealing with trolls on the internet, um, and creating a spiritual business, especially in the beginning stages? I've noticed when I stepped fully into my authenticity and unapologetically express myself, that this is when I trigger the most amount of people. I would love to hear your insights and experience on this and how you first navigated it. All right, so fun story time. Um, before I had my own YouTube channel or even any sort of social media, when I was like really in my agenda conspiracy days, like I was off the internet specifically because I was like, well, the government is going to take me for my abilities, which is what my dad told me at 18. I told him, I said, Dad, I can like leave my body and like go over to the next room and like see what you're doing in that room. And he's like, don't tell anyone online that you're doing this because, the government takes people like you. So I had like the fear of the government instilled in me when I first started to really step into my abilities. Um, And so I did everything like super, super top secret. I was so suspicious of the internet and like social media. And so I was like kind of like late to the game. Like 2016 is when I'm like, okay, I'm getting YouTube and I'm getting, I think, Instagram and Facebook. I got all of those in around, no, I think I had Instagram beforehand, but I didn't really post. Yeah, maybe 2014 for Instagram. So I was so suspicious. Uh, and so I went to a conference. It was my first conference that I spoke at, and this was before I was online. And some guy said, "Hey, we have a YouTube channel. Can we interview you for our YouTube channel?" And so I got interviewed. That interview, all right, it was like "Girl Abducted by Aliens" was like the title of the interview. And it got like 100,000 views. And so this was a huge video for their channel, and like, of course, huge for me. When I went to the comments of this video, oh my goodness. She's schizophrenic. Like, this girl needs medication. What's wrong with her? Why isn't she in a mental institution? This was back in probably 2012, 2013. And I was horrified. On top of that, these people in the comment section, they would screenshot pictures of my interview. So bad. And they would draw green alien dicks going into my third eye. Okay. I was horrified. I cried for about 3 days. Horrified. I told the guys, like the YouTube channel guy, I'm like, take this video down. Like, I cannot. I do. I look crazy. Like I can't do this, right? And so they're like, we can't take this video down. Like, this is our most popular video. Like, we really want this on our channel. And so they disabled the comments, and that was pretty much all they did. And then for a really long time when I started my YouTube channel, you get like 5 views or 10 views on your video. And a lot of the comments were like, this is a dude. Like, this chick is a dude. Look at her Adam's apple. Listen to her voice. Like, you're not fooling any of us. I don't know why, but all of the troll comments on my first like YouTube videos were all like, this is a man pretending to be a woman. And this was even before like the trans agenda stuff happened. And I'm like, why does everyone think I'm a dude? Like, I get that like I have no boobs, but like it really truly was because I was presenting, and I was like, I had the makeup and the hair and all of that, but like energetically, I was so in my masculine. So so long story short, how do you deal with trolls? At an energetic level, when you start your spiritual business and you start getting out there and you put yourself out there, you are going to attract a lot of trolls, a lot of haters, a lot of like people online who just want to put you down. There's multiple reasons for this. One, you don't fully know or believe in yourself yet. So you're actually projecting out some insecurities at a subconscious level and you're attracting that back. Two, a big part of it is being so unapologetically yourself that you're like, well, fuck it. Like, you can call me whatever you want, but like, this is my truth. Like, I did get abducted, and like, I do think I'm an alien, and like, you can think that I deserve medication for that, but this is truly what I believe, and this is just my experience, and like, take it or leave it, right? So, a big part of it, I think, is just really testing to see where you're at energetically and how empowered you are within to really stand in your own truth. And even today, I mean, you guys probably know, like, there's a bunch of like hater content out there, and especially on my new TikTok channel. I'm getting like a lot of people who have no idea who I am, which was kind of the goal, okay? Because it's great to talk to star seeds who get it, but it's even better to wake up the sleeper star seeds, right? And like bring them into this. And so yeah, I'm getting so much hate. Especially for a video like, yeah, Kate Middleton's a clone. Like, I mean, it's just like insane content. So I don't read the comments. Like, that's how I deal with it now. It's like I truly believe in what I channel and what I see, and I'm not putting stuff out there to seek validation from anyone else. I understand this stuff is crazy. I understand that this is not like the popular opinion. And as long as it still resonates and aligns with what I've experienced, then I just put it out there and I don't really get affected anymore by the repercussion because I just don't read the comments, you know? And that's really how I deal with things now. Bit of avoidance, possibly, but it is what it is, right? Anyway, I know we're at our time, but I'm just having so much fun. Let's see if there's any other questions live here. Okay. Tracy here is mentioning, please channel Kelly Clarkson. She reappeared after months out of the spotlight and returned looking like herself 20 years ago. Is she a clone? I'm not going to channel it, but I do want to mention something here. What? Okay, so a lot of the information leading up to 2024 was this. The vibration is increasing and it's getting much more difficult for these reptilian shapeshifters to hold their form as human beings. So we're seeing, and in general, it's getting hard for reptilians or any lower vibrational beings because some reptilians are good, right? If a reptilian is good, okay, good vibes and high vibrational, they can stay here, they can flourish here. They're a part of the new earth, fantastic. But the ones who have malice intent or in a low vibration, it's getting difficult not only just to hold their human form, but also to just be here. Okay, so, and I'm just like, this is kind of a side note, but this is important. You know how, like, when the planet is going through a war, we've got kind of two happening right now, and even like during the pandemic 2020 and like shit was going down, there is as a high vibrational being, there's like a feeling inside of, it's like a deep internal anxiety that we feel that we just can't get rid of. And sometimes it grows and it spikes and it's like, holy shit, I'm just feeling what the rest of the world is feeling. It's very similar to that we've all probably experienced. But on the reverse side of holy shit, the energy is increasing and like this is making me feel very uncomfortable. And that anxiety, that restlessness, that uncomfortability, that nausea, that's what they're all going to feel and have been feeling. So I just wanted to mention the reason why the elites, the powers that were, are bringing back old people, okay, from the Illuminati is because the new people um, are having a lot of issues. I don't know how else to describe that. Like a lot of people are backing out, a lot of people are running away, a lot of people don't want to participate. Like there's a lot, like there's a big pushback right now with the powers that were. So I'm not going to channel Kelly Clarkson, but I'm not surprised that she's kind of making a comeback and coming back around because they're just trying to put out whoever they can to distract and influence people. They're desperate. They are desperate. All right. Okay. One more question because it's important. Now, with this question, we're going to talk about mental health. I just have to mention a disclaimer. I'm not a mental health practitioner. I'm definitely not a doctor. I don't have background in this. I'm not diagnosing or even making medical recommendations, okay? This is my opinion. Please take it or leave it. If it resonates with you, it's for you. If not, no big deal, all right? No pressure. So Patrick is here and he's saying, what is your view on antidepressants for depression, anxiety, ADHD, etc.? Are we better off finding a more naturopathic approach, and what's their effect on our vibration? So I ended up channeling this information many, many years ago, long before I was ever online, once again. And I've channeled the exact same information every time I encounter this question. Um, and the answer is Western medicine can be beneficial for a short duration of time. Now, specifically, well, I've looked into anxiety medication, ADHD medication, depression medication, and antipsychotic medication. And a lot of the time, they all do the same thing, right? Like if you have anxiety, they prescribe you antidepressants, which also helps with anxiety. And if you have ADHD, it's like all kind of intermingled. Well, ADHD is a bit different. So what like I'm a really firm believer in Western meets Eastern because of the information that I've channeled on this. It's never an all or nothing sort of vibe, okay? Um, and so what I've channeled is that uh, the doctors and the individuals who have created these medications were bringing that through, okay? And a lot of these medications are based off of just plants. Like they're just like antidepressants is actually just based off of, I don't even know what kind of plants, but like, herbology pretty much has the answer for every pharmaceutical we have. And I'm not saying, screw pharmaceuticals and go herbology. Obviously, pharmaceuticals can be extraordinarily damaging to our biological systems. And obviously, if you do find like a plant remedy for it, go for it. But I just want to say it's important to remove all blame, guilt, shame for partaking in the Western medical industry and for partaking in pharmaceuticals. Specifically, I've channeled multiple clients who have gone through and are currently in either maybe psychosis or have been diagnosed with schizophrenia, and they're taking antipsychotic medication. And what's come through is this medication lowers their frequency so that they have more of a balance between worlds. And that can be very positive for them at that time. Same thing with antidepressants. It can help level out your brain chemistry so that for the time being, you can see a different perspective on the experience of being human. Okay. They're definitely not a solution long term, but we need to take away a lot of the blame and the guilt and the stigma and the pain that we can actually create within ourselves for partaking in pharmaceuticals. Okay. So it's a bit of both. And I had a really incredible client of mine. He went through a ski accident at a young age, like 18 years old, okay? And I can't even describe to you the amount of medication he was on. Per day, he had at least, I think at one point it was 25 to 30 different prescription pills. He was so he was so messed up. Half of the prescriptions were to combat the symptoms of the other prescriptions and so on and so forth. He was like sleepwalking and like buying expensive watches like in the dead of night, like when he was sleep. It was pretty crazy. He was able, okay, to get off of every single one of those prescriptions. And I worked with him for a number of months, if not a couple of years. And I think it took about a year to get off of all of those prescriptions. And he supplemented all of those prescriptions, believe it or not, with weed, with medical marijuana. And it took care of all of his problems, his hunger problems, his pain problems, his all of the problems that he was having from 30 medications. Medical marijuana at the time took care of that. I'm not saying that like weed's the weed's the solution, but it's a good example of herbs, of things that grow from the earth and finding that. So if you're like, I do want to get off my prescriptions, you need to look up what your prescription is and take a look at what the herbs are, the plants, the plant medicine that can help you combat that. And I know that even things like, and I don't know if like, I don't really know what ketamine is, but I know that there's a lot of studies going into things like ketamine and MDMA. And I know MDMA is like more chemical, but also things like mushrooms, like magic mushrooms, right? And how these things can help long term bring a solution to things like depression and anxiety. So I'm happy that things are sort of changing. And my view and belief has always been a little bit of both. Okay. If we're so extreme in one side or the other, then we could actually be missing out on a solution that can help us in the moment. All right. So, yeah, please just keep that in mind. One more thing I want to leave you off with when talking about Eastern versus Western. I had a client a number of years ago. I had her almost right before I stopped taking clients. And she was having like really, really bad back pain and sciatic pain. And she was battling this pain for 5 years. It was so bad that she lost her job. She was on disability. And she was a huge believer in just Eastern medicine. She was getting energy healing sessions. She was stretching. She was doing, hot soaks. She was, anything you could imagine on all of the different herbs and things and whatever. In our first session together, her guides were like, you need surgery. Like, you need surgery. They're like, you've done all the things, but at this point, you got to go Western. And she resisted it. And I said, look, like, your guides are making a suggestion. You can take it or leave it, as always. And so it was like 4 months later, she called me up and she's like, I have to tell you that I got the surgery. It wasn't a big deal. She was like so mistrusting of doctors, and I totally get it because they're so ignorant, right? But she's like, my entire life has changed in a week because I got the surgery. Okay, so there's a time and a place for everything. Take a look at all of your options, and just don't have any sort of guilt about exploring the Western world, just like we should explore the Eastern, a little bit of both. All right. Anyway, that was like long-winded, but I think it's important to talk about, and I think that within this community, not our community, but within the spiritual community, the Western world is so looked down upon. And I feel like that can be a little bit like traumatic and damaging for people who are like, I have nowhere else to go. And then once the problem is kind of just leveled out, then you're like, what are the other solutions I can really work into my life right now? Anyway. Okay, well, oh yeah, and check out my new adoption. I have to show this off. I am not a fluorite person. I'm not. But there's something about cubes that I'm obsessed with. It's probably why I love pyrite so much. You can't see it right now, but this thing in the sunlight has so many rainbow fractals. It's so pretty. So yeah, I have it on my desk and hangs out with me. So anyway, guys, I love you so, so much. Thank you, as always, for being here, for being an awakener, for being a creator. You're just so appreciated, and I'm happy that we can explore these really crazy concepts that are truly happening on planet Earth, like clones. It's insane. And it's like, I always just feel a little bit guarded and a little bit weird, like going online and saying, yeah, like the clones are real. Like it's just like, as a human, I'm like, that's fucking weird. Okay. As like a soul, I'm like, it's happening. You can't deny it. So, and I'm glad that more and more people are waking up to it. I think my video about Kate Middleton on Instagram got like 500,000 views. Like that's insane. I'm not saying that everyone agrees with it, definitely not, but it's interesting that people are at least open-minded enough to ponder it. And that's all we can really hope for, right? Is just open-minded curiosity. That's it. That's what we're here for. So thank you all again. And I will be back on not this Sunday. I'm just double checking my schedule. Yeah, not this Sunday. But next Sunday for a coaching call. So have a great rest of your week, everyone, and have a great weekend. Bye for now.